Hello, I am Camila Perez from the World Bank, and we are here in Berlin at the T20 Summit where we're presenting the High-Level Commission report for carbon pricing. Much has been said about what is the right carbon price and what is the right way to implement it. To talk about this, I'm here joined by two special guests, Nobel Laureate Joseph Stiglitz and Lord Nicholas Stern. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to be here.
We're happy to be here with you. You have co-chaired a commission of global leading economists who have agreed on a price so that we can reach the Paris Agreement goals. I want to start with a very basic question for you, Nick. What is carbon price and why do we need one?
Let me start with the why. When we burn fossil fuels, we emit carbon dioxide, greenhouse gases, and the greenhouse gases trap heat. They disturb the global climate. They make it much more dangerous. And in the Paris Agreement, we, as a world, nearly 200 countries said we must stay well below 2 degrees centigrade relative to the 19th century, because otherwise we run into terrible problems of extreme weather, sea level rise, all kinds of dangers and hurricanes that we face. So that's the problem. And how do you respond to that problem? Well, you put a price on what it is that's causing all that damage. So at the moment, people are causing that damage by emitting those greenhouse gases when they burn the fossil fuels, and they're causing that damage for nothing. That's like a subsidy, something very costly that people are doing for free. So you put a price on the carbon dioxide that they emit in order to discourage that emission. And that's how it works. So basically we're thinking about prices of carbon dioxide which affect the price of coal, the price of gas, the price of oil and fossil fuels. And if we do that, then firms will switch away. They're already switching away, find other ways of doing things.
Right. So tell us about what are the main messages of this report that the Commission is presenting today, and what is the carbon pricing you are suggesting?
We're suggesting prices of carbon dioxide per ton of between $40 and $80 in 2020 and between $50 and $100 in 2030. Some countries already, like Sweden, have prices which are well above 100, but most countries have prices which are well below that range, and only around 15% of emissions are currently covered. So we're recommending a major increase, and that will discourage the use of the fossil fuels and create revenue which we can use to make infrastructure, protect poor people, invest in innovation and all sorts of things.
Right, and that takes me to my question for you, Joe, because we are suggesting a $40 pricing per ton for carbon. We have countries today that do not have a carbon price. Some of them have a very low carbon price, like $1 per ton. Is this $40 realistic? You're talking about having it by 2020. How realistic is this?
I think it's very realistic. I think it's very manageable. In fact, countries that do this, I think, will grow better. Nick mentioned Sweden, which is $150, well above. It's one of the fastest growing countries with the fullest employment. So this is really about the growth story of the 21st century. There are some people I know that are looking back at the world as it was in the 19th and 20th, and they say, how can we live without coal miners? Well, we have solar energy. More jobs are being created in solar panels, installation of solar panels that are being lost in coal mining. And nobody really enjoyed those coal mining jobs. They were getting lung disease. This is a much brighter, literally brighter future, a cleaner future, a more dynamic future. And the parts of the world, the firms within the world that have grasped this message are doing better. Many companies are already internally using numbers like $50, $60 a ton for their own planning. They know that this is the direction and they want to be ahead of the game. So not only is it realistic, not only is it manageable, I think it's the way to go.
Right. And how would it change people's lives if we adopt carbon pricing?
Well, how it will change them will depend in different parts of the world. If we succeed in reducing carbon emissions, it'll affect all of us in the world because we will all suffer from global warming. The United States sometimes pretends that, well, we're not in the tropics. We're not like Bangladesh, where a third of the country will be under seawater. But we saw from Hurricane Sandy that we can be affected as well. In fact, the incidence, the frequency of extreme weather variables is very clearly connected with global warming. It's costing us an enormous amount as a result. So you'll be protected against some of these extreme events that you otherwise would have had. You'll have cleaner air. Cities like Beijing, New Delhi are hard to live with, hard to breathe. So it'll be a much more livable world.
Right.
But I think it will be a more dynamic economy.
Right, and that's my question back to Nick. You've talked about Sweden. Some people believe that economic growth does not go hand in hand with carbon pricing. Do you have a message on how we can reach economic growth even having a carbon price?
Well, those people you mentioned are straight wrong. If you look at my own country, the UK, since 1990, we've had a growth overall about 60% in real terms, and we've cut carbon emissions by 40%. If you look at the way in which the prices of renewable energy are falling around the world, this is the growth story of the future. If we invest in sustainable infrastructure, we boost demand, we make supply more efficient, and we launch this tremendous innovation, discovery, investment and growth. This is the growth story. This is the story of poverty reduction. As Joe put it, this is the 21st century growth story. The people who are stuck in the 19th and 20th century would be holding us back. Let's take these tremendous growth opportunities and have cities where we can move and breathe and ecosystems that are robust.
Right. You have set up two targets, 40 USD dollars by 2020, 50 US dollars by 2030.
At least.
It's a price range.
40 to 80,
at
50
least.
to 100.
40 to 80, 50 to 100. How optimistic are you to reach that we're going to reach those prices by 2030?
Well, I think we won't reach it if we don't begin talking about it. And the objective of our report is to provide impetus behind this movement. I've been astonished as we did our research for our report, how many firms are already doing it, how many places are effectively already doing something along these lines. So that's made me very optimistic.
Yeah, we've set out where we need to go on the basis of this Paris Agreement, which was agreed by nearly 200 countries at the end of 2015. So we said this is where the countries around the world quite wisely have said where we need to go. This is a key part of how we get there, and then we have to discuss how to make it happen. But you have to show where you need to go. You have to show how we follow up on the ambition, this global agenda that the world created together. This is how we follow up, and I think that as we see what we need to do, countries will look at it carefully and we'll get there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Joe. Thank you to our viewers for joining us here today from Berlin.